Hello everyone and welcome to a lecture on the poem The Clod and the Pebble by William Blake. First we will briefly introduce you to the poet William Blake. William Blake was a great literary figure of the Romantic era. He remains one of the most enigmatic and visionary poets and artists in English literary history. He was born on November 28, 1757 in London, England, and his life was marked by an unparalleled artistic spirit which transcended the boundaries of his time. As for his early life and education, Blake's upbringing laid the foundation for his unique perspective on art and spirituality. He was the third of 7 children in a working class family, and from an early age, he displayed a propensity for creativity and imagination. Despite his limited formal education, he was encouraged by his parents to pursue his artistic talents, and he was apprenticed to an engraver at the age of 14. During his apprenticeship, Blake honed his skills in the art of engraving, a craft that would greatly influence his later work as a visual artist and illustrator. He also began to develop his distinctive style of poetry as he drew inspiration from his own experiences and the mystical mythological traditions that fascinated him. Blake's literary and artistic output is as diverse as it is profound. His illustrated books such as Songs of Innocence and Experience, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell are masterpieces of both poetry and visual art. In these works, Blake combined his own poetry with intricate engravings, creating a symbiotic relationship between word and image that allowed him to convey his visionary insights with unparalleled clarity and intensity. Central to his work is his exploration of the human condition and the nature of existence. He delved into the themes of innocence and experience, good and evil, and the eternal struggle between the material and spiritual realms. His poetry is characterized by its lyrical beauty, its profound symbolism, and its unflinching exploration of the depths of the human soul. In addition to his poetry, Blake was also a gifted painter and illustrator. His visionary paintings, such as The Ancient of Days and Newton, are renowned for their imagery and their portrayal of spiritual themes. Blake's visual art often serves as a visual expression of his poetic vision, and it provides a rich tapestry of symbols and allegories that invite the audience, readers, and viewers to contemplate the mysteries of existence. As for his personal life, despite his artistic genius, Blake's life was not without its struggles. He lived in relative obscurity for much of his life, and he struggled to find recognition and support for his work. Financial difficulties also plagued him throughout his career, and he was often forced to rely on the patronage of friends and supporters to make ends meet. Blake's personal life was also marked by tragedy. He married Catherine Boucher in 1782, and although theirs was a happy and devoted partnership, they experienced the loss of several children in infancy. Despite these hardships, Blake remained steadfast in his dedication to his art and his vision. He found solace and inspiration in his spiritual beliefs and his deep love. Although Blake's work received little recognition during his lifetime, his influence has only grown in the centuries since his death. His approach to poetry and art paved the future generations of artists and poets, and it inspired figures such as William Butler Yeats, T.S. Eliot, and Allen Ginsberg. Blake's vision of a world infused with the divine spark of creativity and imagination continues to resonate. His exploration of the human psyche and the mysteries of existence remains as relevant now as it was during his lifetime, and it offers profound insights into the nature of reality and the human spirit. William Blake stands as a towering figure in the history of English literature and art. His visionary poetry and art continue to captivate and inspire audiences around the world, and it challenges us to contemplate the deeper truths of existence. Now we shall discuss the poem The Clod and the Pebble. The Clod and the Pebble is a beautiful poem by William Blake. It was published in his collection Songs of Innocence and of Experience in 1794. Within this collection, Blake explores the stark contrast between innocence and experience, presenting a dualistic view of the human condition and the nature of love. To fully understand the significance of the clod and the pebble, it is essential to delve into the historical context in which it was written. During Blake's lifetime, England was undergoing profound social and political transformations. With the Industrial Revolution, which reshaped the fabric of society, the rise of industrialization brought rapid urbanization, technological advancements, and a shift from agrarian to industrial economies. This period of change brought about several shifts in social structures, economic relations, and cultural values. Against this backdrop of societal transformation, Blake emerged as a vocal critic of the dehumanizing effects of industrialization and the prevailing social and moral norms of his time. Through his poetry and art, Blake challenged the prevailing orthodoxy, and he offered an alternative vision of reality rooted in imagination and the human spirit. The Clod and the Pebble can be seen as a reflection of Blake's critique of conventional notions of love and human relationships. The poem presents two contrasting perspectives on love embodied by the clod of clay and the pebble. The clod represents a selfless and altruistic view of love, viewing love as an act of sacrifice and surrender. In contrast, the pebble embodies a cynical and self serving conception of love, viewing it as a form of domination and control. These two perspectives on love can be seen as symbolic of broader social and cultural attitudes towards authority. The Clod's view reflects a more compassionate ethos rooted in empathy and mutual respect. In contrast, the Pebble's view reflects a more hierarchical and authoritarian mindset rooted in dominance and exploitation. In the historical context of Blake's time, the Clod's perspective can be seen as a critique of the prevailing social order, which often privileged the interests of the powerful and the wealthy over those of marginalized and disenfranchised. By contrast, the Pebble's perspective is the corrupting influence of power and the ways in which it can distort and pervert human relationships. The Clod and the Pebble serves as a powerful allegory for the complexities of love and morality. Now we shall discuss the poem, The Clod and the Pebble. Love seeketh not itself to please, nor for itself hath any care, but for another gives its ease, and builds a heaven in hell's despair. In this opening stanza of the poem, The Clod and the Pebble, Blake presents the perspective of the clod of clay, portraying love as selfless and altruistic. The clod personifies love as a force that seeks not its own pleasure, but rather finds fulfillment in caring for others. It suggests that true love transcends self-interest and selfish desires. Instead, it finds joy elevating in elevating the comfort of others and helping them through their suffering. The imagery of building a heaven in hell's despair emphasizes love's ability to create beauty and comfort even in the darkest of circumstances. Through this stanza, Blake establishes the theme of selflessness and empathy and invites us to consider the transformative power of love when it is grounded in compassion and altruism. The next stanza. So sung a little clod of clay, trodden with the cattle's feet. But a pebble of the brook wobbled out these meters meet. So here Blake shows that the previous lines were sung by the clod of clay, and the stanza that will follow this stanza will be the opinions of the pebble. In this stanza, Blake introduces us to the upcoming perspective of the pebble, which will be a contrast to the altruistic view of love presented by the clod. The pebble's perspective is characterized by self interest. It portrays love as means of seeking pleasure and gratification, as it is opposed to the view of love presented by the clod of clay. Unlike the clod, which finds fulfillment in serving others, the pebble sees love as a tool for asserting dominance and control over others. The imagery here suggests a sense of insignificance and degradation for the clod of clay, highlighting their own view of love. By juxtaposing the perspectives of the clod and the pebble, Blake highlights the complexity of human relationships and the contrasting motivations that underlie. And the final stanza: love seeketh only self to please, to bind another to its delight. Joy is in another's loss of ease, and builds a hell in heaven's despite. In this final stanza, Blake presents the pebble's perspective in great detail. Further emphasizes its cynical view of love. The pebble personifies love as selfish and possessive, seeking only its own pleasure and disregarding the well-being of others. It portrays love as a source of suffering and misery, suggesting that it thrives on the pain and loss of others. The imagery of building a hell in heaven's despite encapsulates the pebble's belief that love is inherently destructive and antithetical to happiness and fulfillment. Through this stanza, Blake offers a critique of selfishness and narcissism, challenging readers to confront the darker aspects of human nature and the consequences of prioritizing personal gratification over genuine compassion and empathy. So finally, this poem, The Clod and the Pebble by William Blake, is a thought-provoking exploration of love, presented through the contrasting perspectives of two objects, the clod of clay and the pebble. At its core, the poem delves into the complexities of human relationships and the ways in which individuals perceive and experience love. Love, from the clod's perspective, is characterized by empathy, sacrifice, and the willingness to alleviate suffering even in the midst of despair. Through this perspective, Blake highlights the transformative power of love when grounded in compassion and altruism, suggesting that it has the capacity to bring solace and beauty to even the bleakest of circumstances. In contrast, love, from the pebble's perspective, is characterized by selfishness, possessiveness, and the disregard for the well-being of others. Through this perspective, Blake critiques the corrosive effects of egoism and narcissism, suggesting that love becomes destructive when it is driven by personal gain and the desire for control. The juxtaposition of these two perspectives serves to highlight the conflicting motivations under human relationships. Blake invites us to reflect on our own attitudes towards love and to consider the broader implications of selflessness versus selfishness in interpersonal dynamics. Overall, this poem is a meditation on the nature of love and human relationships. And through its imagery and contrasting perspectives, the poem resonates with readers even today, and it challenges everyone to reconsider their own conceptions of love and the values that shape their interactions with others. Thank you.